Welcome back to the Zero Weakness Podcast, where we talk about how to be a better lifter, how to be a better coach, and everything in between. Make sure you subscribe and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Zero Weakness Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Establishment Coffee. Go to establishmentcoffee.com.au, use the code 025 and get 25% off your order and free shipping. We are back with another episode with the fam. Hey guys.
Good morning.
What have we been up to?
What's up? We know what you've been up to, walking in here with a spring in your step.
Yes.
Mr. Flashy.
Yes. Yeah, I bought a car. I bought the dream car that I've always wanted for a very long time.
Nice.
Road tripped all the way down to the big shot town of Ulladulla. And yeah, picked it up, drove it all the way back, and it's here on the coast to retire.
So is Ulladulla outside Sydney?
It's 3 hours south of Sydney.
South of Sydney.
Yes.
Wow.
So it was a
Long way.
big drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was good because I went down with a couple mates and we stayed at their cousin's place in Sydney. And he's Italian, so they were so hospitable to us.
Yeah.
Like, come in, I'll make a pasta. Come.
Nice.
They're literally just like Filipinos, but Italian. Like, so hospitable, fed us so much. It was, real nice. And then, we stayed there the night, and then we did the 3-hour trip down to Ulladulla. Saw the car, it was really good. Needed an oil change, so I did it in the in the car park.
Nice.
We brought the jack stands and stuff, and jacked up the car. Everyone was watching me service my car in the middle of the car park.
So, for the good people at home, what kind of car is it?
So I got a Subaru BRZ. It's
Ooh.
a 202017
Four-cylinder?
model. Yes, 4-cylinder, 2-liter boxer engine.
I made that up.
That's right. Yeah, he knows his cars. It's quite the guru.
4 wheels?
Yes,
Yeah.
all 4 of them. 4 seats as well.
Ooh, fast one.
Very quick. Very quick.
So if anyone's interested, there's a white Mitsubishi Lancer, single owner, female, in the 70s, frequently serviced.
No smoker. Never been raced.
Absolutely.
Dragon Ball Z gear stick.
Yes, very high quality. Yeah. It was between that car and Eli's car.
His is nice.
Eli was selling his car. The poor guy still can't sell it. So yeah, shout out to Eli as well. He's selling a
Wait,
Which
didn't
car?
you just buy it?
The Z.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I got it for the same. It was the same price as my BRZ. So I was like, oh, which one do I? It is, his car is very nice.
Why
So
is he selling his car? Didn't he? I thought he just got it, but maybe
He
not.
did, but he wants a Golf now. He wants a fart box. There's those farting cars. Yeah, so buy Eli's car. It's a very nice 370Z, very well looked after. So yeah, the poor guy can't get rid of it. Everyone keeps screwing him over.
Oh, no.
Unlucky.
So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Nice.
What are you guys?
I'm just working, plugging away, training away, living life.
About the same as me.
Yes.
Training, working. That's about it. Swimming.
Yeah, same. Not much. I haven't been up to much at all this year. It's very uneventful.
Very early in the year. It's very early on.
I keep thinking that, what we've been up to, I'm like, I haven't done anything this year.
Uh,
Just existed.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Take it slow.
That's
Enjoy
it.
life.
Winding in.
What are we grateful for, Bridget?
Oh, donuts.
Nice.
I went to Woolworths this morning Coles or whichever one, and bought a big pack of donuts. So they're downstairs for everybody if you guys want some more. Yeah.
I love cinnamon
love it.
donuts.
Yeah, just a classic cinnamon sugar donut and a coffee.
Yeah.
Like nothing better.
Yeah, I channeled my
Chief Wiggum.
my Chief Wiggum this morning. Yeah, delicious.
What do you guys prefer? The glazed donut, like Krispy Kreme, or cinnamon?
I reckon cinnamon.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
Nah, glazed all day.
No, fresh, like hot cinnamon donuts, the best.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah, they're good, but
Everyone's
glazed.
different. I remember at one point years ago, the only Krispy Kreme donut place was in the Sydney airport.
Yes.
It was the
Yeah.
only place for it. So whenever you were in Sydney, like flying in or flying out, you always bought like a massive box and then took it, and it was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
But now
They're everywhere.
they're everywhere. But
Every 7-Eleven.
yeah,
Yeah.
but a fresh, like when Donut King have their like just fresh off the ladder. Oh my gosh,
We were talking about
it's
that.
so good.
So yummy.
There's like in New Zealand, Thomas, remember when anyone would go to Auckland, they'd get Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah.
because it's the only donut place in at Auckland Airport.
And is that glazed or cinnamon? Which one?
I think it was just a mix.
They're both.
Mm.
Nice.
Everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to love watching them cook them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So good.
Oh my gosh.
What are you grateful for, CJ?
I'm grateful for physiotherapy. Our bearded friend Jordo putting me back together. I hurt my back a couple weeks ago and I'm in a lot better shape now, which is really good. I can get back into training. But yes, they're very thankful for him for putting me back together physically, emotionally, mentally. But yeah, very thankful for him.
What are you grateful for, Tom, bro?
I'm grateful for haters. Which sounds funny. It sounds funny.
Mamba mentality.
I was doing like a business mentoring call. Like I'm available for business mentoring calls if you're interested. So someone was doing a call with me, and they made a comment along the line of being surprised that the success of Zero was just based on hard work, because they'd heard rumors of other stuff, and I'm not talking like bad stuff, but just like other stuff. Whether it's like, connections or some sort of like alternative method of getting to where Zero is, rather than just hard work and making money and reinvesting it wisely. And it just kind of, it's been in my mind the last few weeks. And even this morning, I was just thinking of like, when we did the 10-year episode, we were talking about a few of the people that had really, really, really tried to go out of their way to cause harm to this business. And it just kind of flashed through my head this morning. I was thinking of the whole Wilkes saga and everything he did to try and shut me down, shut PTC down. Thinking of Rodney back at the old gym and a few other people along the way. And I was just like, I could have handled those situations in such a different way, and I didn't. And that created a tremendous amount of growth and resilience and learning that's really turned into how I operate today. And I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to have been able to learn, because without that, I wouldn't have pivoted in the way that I did, and Zero might not be what it is today.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
So keep on hating.
Haters. Bring on the haters. It's got the Laker
I
colours
think
on.
if people are trying to shut you down, you must be doing something right, because you're intimidating
yes.
them.
And no matter what, if you're doing all right, people underneath you are always going to talk shit.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time that'll just, ricochet off of you. But when people are genuinely trying their very best to shut you down in some way, shape or form, you have to step up. And there's so many directions you can go with that. And there's normally a bunch of right ways and a bunch of wrong ways. And I'm glad I chose the right way.
Nice.
I think I've said this a million times, but I'm very grateful for aircon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially
it's been
lately.
rough.
Yeah, we've had some 40-degree days.
Oh my gosh.
North of 35 degrees.
Plus humidity.
And normally I'll turn
Horrible.
one air conditioning unit off, but fuck.
Yes, we've all noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the afternoon after you go home and the gym's full.
No, I get it. In the morning when you're not doing anything, like even when I came in today, I was like, oh, it's a bit chilly.
And we've been keeping the door shut lately too.
Yeah, it's bad when just the door as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next level heat. So yeah, I'm grateful for air conditioning, making it a comfortable environment for our members to train and us to work, which is good.
Absolutely.
All right.
Quotes.
What do we got? Quotes. All right. Who's first?
What was mine? Don't be upset by the results you didn't get, but with the work you didn't do.
Nice.
Classic.
Yeah, it is a classic.
It is classic. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Come on.
We always talk about this. We'll stand on the scales and we'll go, it's like, why are you acting surprised?
Like, I know exactly what I've been doing. This doesn't surprise me at all.
Fuck, I've gained so much weight this last week. It's like, well, no shit.
Hit the buffet with the lads last night. What's going on? Gosh.
Oh, my life story. My quote is from my man Grant McVeigh.
Ooh.
Thank you for the suggestion, Grant. There's two types of pain in life: the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. It's up to you which you choose for yourself.
I like that.
Choose your pain.
I
How
like
good.
that.
Come
CJ.
on. Obstacles don't block the path. They are the path.
Oh, nice. That's good.
I don't get it. The literal definition of an obstacle is kind of blocking the path.
As you go through it, Thomas.
Okay.
All the haters.
Yeah, the haters. They're obstacles.
Yeah.
They're all obstacles.
They didn't stop
You don't run
Thomas.
from them.
Yeah.
Go through them.
You had to step up.
Well, I've actually got 2 quotes. So the first quote is related to the haters thing, which is an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yep.
You can't act as your oppressors would act upon you. But my real quote is a bit crude, and I sent it to James as a joke, but it's really been in my head and it's kind of stuck with me. And it's that the dildo of consequence rarely arrives lubed.
Very dry, eh? Very dry. Dry arrival. Oh my gosh.
It's powerful though. If you strip away the crassness of it and think of it like in a maybe a more wholesome worded fashion, it's actually quite powerful.
Yes.
Like it's about reaping what you sow. If you sow bad actions and bad deeds, you'll get bad consequences.
The double-ended dildo.
Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, man.
Gosh.
Moving on.
One of the greatest movies I've ever seen, and I will never watch it again.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah.
See, I need to watch it again because I watched it when I was like, I went through a phase when I was maybe I was in uni, so I must have been like 19 or something, and I had just Googled top 100 cult classic films, and I
Yeah.
wanted to make my way through the list. So I skipped all the like 1920s one, and watched things like A Clockwork Orange and Requiem for a Dream, and I just didn't appreciate any of them because I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
So like I couldn't even recall most of Requiem now. So I need to watch it again so I can appreciate it as a seasoned film veteran.
I need to see
Prepare
it.
to be depressed for the next month after you watch it.
It's one of those.
It's not really going to change my gender.
I was about to make that joke as well for me. Oh, what's new?
When you're already, it's just we're just going straight, guys.
This is all probably cheer me up.
Speaking of television and movies, Declan's always putting up a good movie recommendation.
Yeah, he's into it at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
He's going through a bit of a film phase.
Yeah, he's a real
Man.
film
Film
Fanatic.
buff.
film buff. Speaking of television, are you guys watching anything at the moment?
Yes,
Yes.
What are you watching?
I'm watching The Last of Us,
Me too.
which is my favorite video game of all time, just because it is the most well-written story and this TV show that HBO's made of them. For once, they've actually usually when they make movies or TV adaptations of video games, they go so far from the material and it's horrible and everyone's angry. But hey, buddy, they've stayed so close to the original material and it's just done so tastefully and it's just such a good show. So I'm loving it.
Nice. Tom, bro.
I don't really watch too much, but I have found myself the last couple of weekends watching the Fittest 100?
Physical 100.
Physical 100.
Watching that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very cheesy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like very game showy, but I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Me and Bridget have been watching it.
So good.
Yeah.
I just love how polite they all are.
Yeah.
Very always bowing.
So
and
good.
The dub is hilarious.
Who's everyone's favorite?
Well, I liked, what was his name? Agent H, but he's gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked, I might butcher the name, Chul Hun Son, the one FC fighter. But I like the wrestler, but he just,
No, I've seen,
Yeah.
the one that, the, like in the big wrestler, the 125 guy. He's tough.
I felt sorry for the fucking, you know how he versed the police officer in the first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we're just throwing him around.
Oh, it was so sad.
He was savage, but I mean, that's the game.
What I liked, do you know what I liked? You know when that chick, the bodybuilder, when she chose the MMA fighter?
Yeah.
And he just fucking...
Put a knee on her and just
Yeah.
held her there.
It was just a game for him. He was loving it. Wait, so is the first guy you said, is that the older MMA fighter, the one they all really respect?
Yeah.
I love that dude.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's so stoic and just the way he carries himself.
I kind of like the really arrogant guy as well.
Which one?
He was number one when they were doing the team challenges.
The dancer?
Nah. Fuck, I can't remember what he is. I I was going to say, they all say, wow, he's got an amazing body.
Yeah.
Oh, I know the one.
They
yeah.
kind of say that about everyone.
Yeah, they've all got hectic bodies.
Yeah.
But I reckon the translation, because they say the same thing over and over, I reckon it probably means something slightly different.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I'd pick him. He has the best body. I don't think they mean like the best looking body. They're kind of saying like they look very capable.
I reckon it would be like the equivalent to us being like, fuck, he looks mad.
Yeah.
Fuck, he's jacked. He's solid. But they've just said the one word for every single time.
Yeah.
I like, but do you know what was cool? You know, like the powerlifter and the strongman. You know how the guys would choose them? Like,
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
pick
Thinking
them
they were
'cause
going to
they're
be
slow.
slow.
Yeah,
they're
that was
fucking-
savage.
Oh, that's scary, eh?
That was sick.
I love seeing big fucking meatheads run and they're
Yeah.
fast. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's scary.
How was the choreography guy, the one who was like running like a zombie
Yeah.
in the arena?
Yeah,
That was cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you haven't watched it, check out Physical
Yeah, we
100.
just ruined it
on
for,
Who's your
for
favourite?
you.
I've only seen the first episode,
Oh.
so I haven't really.
Oh.
got a favorite.
Well, now you've seen it all.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. I still gotta watch it. So many people have told me to watch it.
What are you watching, James?
Just Physical 100.
Yeah.
I don't really watch much. My attention span's too short to watch like long television shows and things like that. So I'm always just on YouTube watching a bit of short form content. You know, 10-minute videos, 11-minute videos. That's my kind of jam.
Mr. Beast.
Yeah, he's the man.
Love Mr.
Do you see what Mr. Beast just did?
The eye surgery one?
Yeah,
That was good.
that's so cool.
That was good. It's interesting to see, like, you know, he really is a philanthropist. Like, some of the stunts, especially the older ones, like, it's good, but it's for views. But it's also the whole point is get views to get money to give the money away. And like the comments, the hater comments on literally going and fixing 1,000 people's eyes and giving them vision. It's just like I can't fathom being someone who sees someone doing something, philanthropy like that and just being like, fuck this guy. Like,
What kind of comments are they leaving?
What are you doing?
I don't know. I do this all the time. I'll see a really cool post and I'm like, I'm going to click the comments just to see how someone can hate on this.
Yeah.
And I'll just read them like, fuck, they looked at it through. They've got a really skewed worldview if that's how they digested this. So, yeah.
I definitely think there is a limit. Like, people who will virtue signal by only doing things for the sake of putting it out there. But I think with the platform that he has, he's kind of showing the world, like, I have this massive platform. I can literally make more money than basically anyone right now, and this is what I choose to do with it. I think that's sick.
Yeah. He's a cool dude. You can't not love him.
Yeah.
All right. Let's rip into some of our topics. So the first topic is, this is a goodie. Lots of people have been asking about this one as well. How to come off PEDs safely, and when do you decide to take PEDs? So CJ, how did you come off PEDs?
I just cold turkeyed. And then I wanted to max out and see what I held on to.
No seriously, CJ isn't on PEDs, but everyone's accusing him of it. So
No one's accusing me of it. My mum actually asked me once.
Really?
But the way she asked me made me realize, I'm like, you actually don't know what this is. So she was telling me like, one of my friend's son, he's in bodybuilding and he uses a steroid. Do you use the steroid? And I was like, no, I don't. She goes, oh, okay. And then she just carried on. And I was like, you don't actually know what that is, do you? Because it would be way more serious of a conversation. But
It was probably creatine.
yes, creatine.
just before you just reminded me, because my mum's Filipino, so my mum's really fresh as well. Back in the day, my brother goes to me on FaceTime. He goes to me, "Oi, James, I just bought an ounce for $150 right in front of my mum," and my mum looks at him and goes, "What's an ounce?" And then my brother goes, "Bike shocks," and she goes, "Oh, that's good," and carried on with the convo.
Oh, that's amazing. Have any of you ever gotten like a talk from your parents about taking supplements?
Nah.
No, I only, my dad, this is the same talk I get for basically any choice I've ever made in my life. What are you doing that for? What do you mean you want to go to a gym? Gym? What do you mean you're going to university? You know how much bricklayers make? What do you want to finish school for? So that was it.
Opposite. So funny.
He bought me my first supplements. And then like a week into it, he's like, "What are you taking all this stuff for? What is it?"
Came out of your pocket. What are you talking
Dad,
about?
just let me live my life.
But in all seriousness, when do you reckon is a good time to decide to, how do you justify it's time to start taking PEDs?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many layers to this question, and we'll probably end up turning this whole episode into a chat on PEDs. I wish I had reached out to Broderick when he was on the Gold Coast and got him to come in for a chat. If you're unaware of Broderick Chavez and Evil Genius Performance, check him out and check out some of his content. It's very abrasive, but very informative. There's not a lot of people in this space or historically in this space that have been open and honest about information regarding performance-enhancing drugs, and there hasn't been, because it's so taboo and because it's illegal. People tend to shy away from it, and so what you're left with, it's kind of like any world of drugs. What you're left is a whole lot of bro science. The education comes from just people who have had experience, and most of the time they've had the wrong kind of experience, so they're giving the wrong kind of advice. So in terms of, there's so many layers to the decision, because there's the complication of morality with it as well, like whether it is right or wrong. And I mean, ultimately, what's the difference between taking performance-enhancing drugs or taking any other form of drug? Whether it be some other sort of illicit drug or even alcohol. Like you could very much argue that things like alcohol are far worse options than things like performance-enhancing drugs. All it comes down to is public opinion that skews the reality of it. And this is the really hard thing, is that because there's historically not a lot of information out there, our perception of what these drugs are is driven by the media. And what does the media say about steroids?
It's horrible.
Evil.
Yeah.
In what way? Like, what do steroids do to people?
Makes them go crazy. We always it's a running joke that like people know what trend does, and they make jokes about it. But yeah, they make people angry.
And people say it's cheating. If you take steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like, before getting into the gym, you have no idea on where to research it or get to know about it. All you get told is what you hear from the media, and like my perspective on what I saw growing up as a kid, and this is simply just what I saw. I don't mean to offend anyone, but it was just that I was a big wrestling fan. So if you follow pro wrestling, it's very, all you hear is that these wrestlers just die real young. They get heart attacks. They abuse it too much, and you just see it as this horrible thing, but you don't actually know what it is, or all it's just fed into me was that it's just this thing that would deform you really bad and make you really unwell when you're older and kill you eventually.
And the irony of that is that the wrestlers dying young like that almost definitely wasn't from steroids in any way, shape, or form, but from OxyContin abuse.
Yeah.
There's
painkillers and
Yes.
Have you guys seen Prescription Thugs?
Yeah.
Yeah, Prescription Thugs is a good sort of expose documentary kind of on that whole scene. So yeah, the typical worldview of what a steroid user looks like is, a big, juicy, shaved head, tattooed head. No offense, Ryan Anderson. Dude that's super oily and just angry at the world and screaming and throwing things and bashing his missus and all this stuff. The reality of the world is 80% of the fitness influencers that you're probably following are using performance-enhancing drugs, and I'm not just talking about males either. They are very, very, very commonplace, and even more so today than ever because they're so easy to access. I think the hard thing with performance-enhancing drugs is that when people seek advice or get advice or start to go down that journey of taking them, is that nobody ever tells them what that question is. What's it like coming off? Because where people run into the problems often isn't being on, it's when they come off. It's the consequences of coming off. And the consequences of coming off are much worse if you don't know what you're doing when you're on them. And I'm speaking from a place of having worked with a lot of people who use performance-enhancing drugs over the years. And so if you're a coach listening to this, or even a lifter listening to this that has no experience with performance-enhancing drugs, you don't need to. You don't need to learn about it to be able to coach it well. You don't have to understand jack shit about the compounds or anything like that. It helps to know, But in terms of actually coaching, you know, the programming and technique side of things doesn't change that much from steroids, no steroids. It's very similar to anything that gives a quick boost in performance. So in terms of, you know, people getting ready to come on, most of the drugs won't affect things from a mentality standpoint too bad, but some of them really do. And young kids that get on and abuse certain compounds or use certain compounds can fundamentally change their personality. And it can really change who they are and set a really negative trajectory for the future. So I think maturity is a big one. And maturity isn't 100% dictated by age, but age is a huge factor. Like you guys know, the difference between yourself, Bridget, at age 27 versus 33. It's like a whole lifetime apart. You're a completely different person in those years. And you think what it's like between 20 and 23 and then 23 and 26. So kids getting on it when they're in their teens or early 20s really haven't had a great deal of life experience, world experience, lifting experience to the point where being able to rationalize and think forward and think ahead to what it's going to be like coming off or coming down, they're not ready for that. And so they're not going to know about it until they experience it, even if you tell them that. So, I mean, there is no right or wrong age. There's probably a wrong age. Probably shouldn't go on gear when you're 6 years old. You know, like when someone is ready is really, I think, dictated by maturity. And for most people, they're not going to be mature enough to do it until mid-20s. But of course, a lot of people are going to start younger than that.
Well, I'm also under the impression that if someone's made up their mind that they're going to start taking performance-enhancing drugs, you can't really talk them out of it. Like, you can obviously tell them the pros and the cons. Obviously, everyone knows what the pros are. You're going to get fucking jacked and juicy. But, you know, you can't really talk them out of it. So if someone's already made their mind up, the best thing you can do as a coach is guide them in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know, there's small things that you can do to obviously set them on the right path. You can, you know, tell them, do the small things. I tell them to go get the blood work done. Maybe even book in a consultation with someone like Broderick Chavez or something like that. There's little things that you can do to, you know, set them off on the right path. But yeah, I found more often than not, if someone's made their mind up about doing steroids, it's pretty hard to talk them out of it.
And I mean, that's where that morality thing comes in again. It's like, you know, there's going to be coaches where a lifter has done that, and the coach, instead of being like, look, okay, you're an adult, you can make up your own mind, it's your body, it's your choice, you can do whatever the fuck you want. I'm here as a coach to support you getting the best outcome that you can out of your training. From my personal moral perspective, I may not agree with this, but from my job as a coach, I'm willing to help you. A lot of people aren't willing to do that. They're more invested in their own moral standpoint and being like, you are doing the wrong thing. No, they're not doing the wrong thing. They're just doing the wrong thing if they were you. And they're not you. They're their own person. And that can be really hard. And there are going to be times where the moral standpoint actually starts to conflict with a business standpoint, and you need to make that decision as a coach to walk away from that. So, for example, you know, someone who's like, oh, I'm going to take a bunch of drugs and then I'm going to stop and then I'm going to compete in a tested federation. You know, that's where it's kind of like, well, now this person is openly taking drugs. Everyone knows about it. They're going to stop and compete in a tested federation. Am I okay with that as a coach? Can I support that? And even that's a moral gray area, because tested just means you pass the test. And that's a horrible way of looking at it, but that's the reality, right? So, yeah, I tend to agree with you in the sense that, you know, I've had lifters in the past who are kids, you know, and they're like, look, Thomas, I'm really thinking about doing this. What do you think I should do? And I'm like, well, you're young, you're making progress, you're lifting great, you've still got a really high ceiling ahead of you, everything's going fantastic. I don't think you should do this. I don't think you're ready to do this. You know, you may not be mature or whatever. If they come back a second or a third time, it's kind of like they've made up their mind. And a lot of the times on the second or third time they come back, they're just like, I understand, but I'm doing this. And then exactly as you say, James, that puts the coach in a power of trust and a position of power where trust is being built. And then as a coach, you can at least stop them from doing something fucking stupid and hurting themselves, you know, or causing damage or going down a bad path with this world, or listening to the wrong people. Like, there's a lot of power that you have in that situation as a coach to guide someone in the right direction if they're choosing to do that. It's a real weird moral conversation to have, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's really strange. CJ, I think you need a... like, am I allowed to talk from, like, anecdotal experience?
Go for it.
I was just thinking, like...
Don't throw anyone under the bus.
I was just thinking of... I've got a client who's just started taking performance-enhancing drugs. And when he first came to me and said... So, before I started coaching, he had already started.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said to me what he was taking. And he got all his information from, bodybuilding forums and things like that. And I think we can all agree that bodybuilding steroid stacks are a little bit excessive.
And tend to be from the bro science age.
Yeah. So, I had this talk with him and I said, hey, what I think you're doing is a little bit excessive. And I just said, you need to talk to this person. And I just sent them off to talk to someone who's a little bit more, because I don't know anything about performance enhancing drugs. I just know the basics, like fucking, you take tests, you drink Tren, you fucking, you snort Anadrol, whatever it is. No, you don't do any of that. But so I just said, hey, look, I think what you're doing is a little bit excessive. You need to talk to this guy, and he'll get you sorted. He'll get you on the right track. But I just wanted to also bring up, you said the maturity thing. I see people in our industry that are quite open about their use of performance enhancing drugs, and I think of a really good example who reached a really high ceiling, who got close to the ceiling drug free, is Joseph Whitaker.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about openly on his Instagram, so that's why I feel comfortable saying this on the podcast. Mm-hmm. But he got really fucking strong before he even decided to touch drugs.
Yeah, elite.
He totaled 965?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow.
In knee sleeves.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
how old
God.
is Joe? 30.
I think he's 35.
35. So he's had a lot of life experience. He's had a quite extensive training career. He was already elite before he touched performance enhancing drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think of people like him who's like, he didn't touch steroids till he's 35 years old,
Yeah, yeah.
which I think is fucking awesome.
Yeah, think of like John Hack, Ben Pollack, those sort of guys who had a very successful natural career before jumping on performance enhancing drugs. They built a big base.
Yeah, Ben Pollock's another one because he's fucking jacked out of his brain, and people always go on about, oh, he must be fucking juiced to the gills. I'm like, yeah, he might be now, but did you see him competing in the IPF in 2015?
Yeah, he was huge and he was strong.
Yeah, he looked exactly the same. He was fucking jacked. Well, not yet.
I don't know if he looked exactly the same.
No, but you know what I'm trying to say.
He was
like,
big.
He was very fucking, and he's quite. I don't want to make an assumption, but he's quite old as well.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I like just looking at him, he goes hard.
Yeah.
And certain steroids oxidize your skin, which makes you look much older than you are.
He's either 30 or 55.
Yeah.
He's
Look
in
at
between there.
Like Larry Wheels is a good transformation in the other direction. Like he was going hard and now he's going, TRT. I hate that term because it's never TRT. He was going hard, now he's going soft, and he looks very different. Just the nature of what it does to your skin and your appearance is pretty stark in those sort of amounts.
He looks so good now as well.
Yeah, it looks great.
Because how old is he? Like 24?
I think he's a bit older now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he started taking performance enhancing drugs when he was 16 or 15.
Yeah.
So is he come off most of them?
Yeah, he's been really open about it.
Mm-hmm.
And what, like, has his skin just look so much better, and he looks
like he's
He just looks younger.
yeah.
Because they lose a lot of that water retention as well, so they look a lot less bloated and purple, and their skin just clears up. They just look younger and healthier. Yeah. I think it's good to touch on here as well, especially if you're not familiar with what performance enhancing drugs do. And so, like, again, I've got such a wide body of anecdotal evidence of this because, like, performance enhancing drugs, I would argue that they don't, in the moment, they don't. Hello. They don't. If you measure it over time, they definitely increase your rate of performance if it's averaged out. But the increase in rate of performance flattens out very quickly. So instead of like an increase in the rate of performance, it's more like a boost. So people will go, get a 10% boost very quickly, and then their rate of performance is rate of progress. The rate of progress stays the same. It's not like they're adding, 20 kilos of lift every training cycle or every comp, but then they add layer in other substances which will give them more of a boost, more of a boost, more of a boost. And this is where people getting into performance enhancing drugs can go down a dark path, is that they'll jump on some whatever, people normally start on testosterone. They jump on testosterone. They get this 10% boost. The first comp or the first test, they're like, hell yeah, I'm strong as hell. And then they keep training, and the next comp, they don't do so well. They make progress, but the progress is very small. And they're like, well, it's not working. I need to add more. And instead of thinking, what can I do for my training? How can I get better? They think, what can I take? And they just keep adding stuff and adding stuff and adding stuff. And people who are not mature and can't this is what I mean by training experience as well. Like Joseph Whitaker, again, great example. He knows that progress is slow at the elite level. It's still slow at the elite level on performance enhancing drugs. And so that progress doesn't actually speed up, but it gets a boost from the substances. So it'll go up a notch, and then the rate of progress will stay pretty much the same as people who are natural.
I'm going to look at it through another lens. So one of my clients, he's attributing all his success to the performance enhancing drugs. Mm-hmm. He's saying, "Oh, I've gotten such great results." I'm like, whoa, let's take a step back here.
You've been training hard as fuck.
Yeah, I'm like, you've been more consistent for the last 17 weeks than you ever had in your whole training career. You've been better with your nutrition than you ever have in your training career. You've actually got a coach now. You've followed the programming to a T for X amount of time. I don't think it's you can put all the credit to the performance enhancing drugs.
But it's, sorry to cut you off. It's a really interesting thing that they do, because a lot of people will go, okay, I'm committing to this big thing. I better get all the little things right. It can really change the way that people train. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say, because I've gone down that path as well. I've experimented in the past with performance enhancing drugs, and I knew they were fucking awesome. But when you take a step back, I was like, man, I just did everything right for the first time in my entire life that I've been training. I was managing my nutrition. I was doing all my accessories. I was eating X amount of protein every single day. I was doing all the little things right. Am I allowed to talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was selling steroids. No, I'm just
to me. And I bought him out.
I was drinking all the trend, and I was fucking...
even Buddy's looking jacked.
He is actually.
But I was like, oh no, wait, I'm just doing all the 1%ers right.
But that's what people have to remember as well, because again, another mistake that new people or young people make when getting on it and taking more and more and more is that most of your performance and progress is driven by training well and consistently, sleeping well, eating well. And when you feel good and feel healthy because you're sleeping well, training well, eating well, you'll perform really well. And lots of gear makes you not feel that way. People who abuse gear, people who take more than what they should be taking or think they need to just add stuff, normally feel like shit because they can't eat anymore. Like, especially if they're using oral steroids, it messes with the lining of their stomach. They get really bad reflux. They've got no appetite. They can't eat, so they don't eat as much. If they're taking particular types, they might really have struggles breathing and doing cardio, and they might decrease their general activity. If they're struggling to breathe and getting sleep apnea, they won't sleep as well. So all the things that drive performance, like the big things, steroids is such a tiny percentage of that. And lots of people will ruin their performance with steroids. Isn't that a weird thing to think about?
Can we, I don't want to make this like a recommendation thing, because I don't recommend performance enhancing drugs to anybody. But can we talk about what you'd classify as like a safe steroid, and can you do that?
No.
Not really?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Because it varies so much. You've got differences between males and females. There's certain people that are going to respond differently to different things. There's a lot of factors going into it. And this is another thing that people need to hear about when it comes to the world of performance enhancing drugs. Of course, most people aren't going to a doctor and getting prescribed this stuff, right? They're getting it on the black market. And so you can get a bottle of something that says what it is and says how much it is. You have no idea what's in that bottle. You can get a test kit that might tell you what substance is in there, but you still don't know the amount. It's all guesswork. And that becomes really scary, especially with females. Because if CJ decides to go on a bunch of gear and that gear isn't what it says it is, he might feel a bit shit. And he might go get some blood tests and be like, okay, this isn't, my body's not responding to this the way that it should. I'm just going to stop that thing. For a female, there might be physiological changes that are irreversible, that mess them up for the long term. So it is something that people really have to consider and think about. And again, this is why maturity comes into play, because you have to be ready to make this decision. You have to be ready to go down that road. So circling back around to like the heart of the question, which was like coming off, again, this is the thing that nobody talks about. The drugs, any drug, any chemical compound that you put in your body has what's called a half-life. A half-life is like the time it takes to be half that biological value in your body. And half-life stacks. So for example, caffeine has a 5-hour half-life. So if you take 200 milligrams of caffeine now, 5 hours time, it's worth about 100. 5 hours after that, it's worth about 50. And so if you take 200 now and then 200 in 5 hours, you've got 300 in your system, not another 200, if that makes sense. And so a lot of these chemical compounds that people take with performance-enhancing drugs have long half-lives, like 10 days. And they'll stack it. They'll take it for, months and months, maybe even years. And then when they stop and they come off, there's these bro science weird numbers. It's like, 4 weeks you're going to crash. Crashing means the way your hormones work. So if we're talking about males and we're talking about testosterone, your body produces testosterone based on the amount of testosterone that's in your blood. And so when you stick testosterone from the outside world into your body's like, shit, there's heaps of tests. We don't have to make it anymore. So it shuts down that facility. And so when it's shut down for a while, it's just like, yeah, we don't need to do this. And it takes a while to be like, oh shit, we've got none in our body. We better start kicking off and restart that factory up and make it. And in that time period, you crash. You've got limited tests in your body. When you've got limited tests in your body as male, you generally feel like shit. You feel depressed. You feel weak. Normally lose some muscle, gain some fat, feel a bit watery. No one tells you that, or no one tells lifters that when they come off gear altogether, that's probably going to happen at some point, especially if they've been taking a lot. But they'll just say, it's going to happen 4 weeks after you stop. The reality is it could happen 3 months, maybe even 6 months after they stop. They might experience a true crash. And so they get past 4 weeks, they're like, hey, I feel great. It's because they've got still got shitloads of tests floating around in their system. Then they get into a false sense of security. A few months later, they're depressed. They break up with their girlfriend. They, get all depressed, quit their job, whatever. They make some real bad choices because they can't rationalize, I feel shit because of what I did to my body. And so if you understand what's happening, it's easier to go through a checklist in your head and be like, okay, I feel shit, but it's because of hormones. And that makes it a lot easier to deal with that time period rather than being like, what is wrong with me? And no one tells people that. And often the cycle is people get to that spot. They're like, something's wrong with my hormones. Go get a test. The hormones have crashed. They're like, the only way I can fix this is by putting hormones in my body. They get back on, they go harder, and they go through that cycle again and again and again.
See, I was really lucky that I didn't experience any of that when I came off. I just experienced it while I was on it. No, but in all seriousness, because when I came off, I think I had like a 5-month journey, and I was 30 years old. I'm now 31, so this is over a year ago now, when I decided I'd, dabble in them. And I remember when I came off, everyone was like, oh, you're going to crash, da-da-da-da. 4 weeks would go by, nothing happened. 8 weeks would go by, nothing happened. I just still felt normal. I was still in really good shape. I was fit. I was still really active. 12 weeks go by, nothing happens. And everyone would just keep saying, no, you wait. And nothing ever happened.
And this is it. Like the less that you take, if you're sensible with the amounts that you take, the consequences are less. Just like if you go out and have a beer with your friends tonight, you're probably not going to wake up hungover.
Yeah.
If you go out and have a carton with your friends, you're probably going to wake up fucked. So like there's so many factors and things to consider with all of this. It's not as simple as people make it out to be.
Yeah. So you're saying it's dose dependent.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
dose dependent, but also life circumstance, also individual. Again, like who's to say that the stuff you're taking was real or not real or dosed properly or not? Like there's so many unknowns in the whole thing. It makes this whole world, a little bit of an unpredictable factor. But think of it like on that side of things, not knowing doses or compounds or whatever. Think of it just like an oven where you can turn it on, but you have no idea what the temperature is. You just kind of learn to be like, okay, when the dial's about here, that's the right temperature to cook this for this amount of time. Like you learn to operate a faulty system.
I was I just remembered one of my friends who's also a coach, a powerlifting coach. When he decided to start taking performance enhancing drugs, he went and got his bloods done, and then he went and got them done at the 12-week mark as well, and he made amazing progress in 12 weeks, and then he got them done again, at the 12-week mark when he went and got them done again, his blood work came back the exact same. So does that mean his performance enhancing drugs were fake?
Possibly, I don't know.
Possibly, yeah. But it's crazy
Again,
how
there's so many other factors to consider.
It's crazy how it was almost like a placebo effect. He took the stuff, and all of a sudden he thought, "Fuck, I'm feeling so good, I'm getting so strong." But
again, like, what was he then? Stepping up nutrition, sleep, actually training hard, all that sort of stuff. Maybe that's the key. Maybe at all gyms in Australia, we should start handing out peanut oil and write, on the Space Jam, Michael's secret stuff. Just placebo everyone into thinking that they're taking shitloads of gear so they train properly.
how good! I love that.
So yeah, I mean, it's a very, very deep subject. I actually really enjoy talking about it because I want the world to have more information. By no means am I any sort of expert on it, but I'm obviously well aware that people choose to use it. I work with a lot of people that choose to use it. I very much enjoy learning about it. I really like biology. I really like just everything to do with this chemical side of things. We spoke about it on a podcast a few weeks ago, just about the fact that, powerlifting is quite unique in the sense that there is an option for people to do this and still compete with no moral complications because they're allowed to take steroids and compete. So yeah, I think the best advice is listen to experts on the field. Evil Genius Performance, Broderick Chavez, and that whole crew are probably the leaders when it comes to that sort of stuff. They've got some great resources out there. But like, if you can't describe to me how testosterone works in your body, what testosterone is, what a steroid is, what it's going to do, what the specific compound is, you shouldn't be taking it. Like, you need to learn about this stuff to earn the right to take it. Otherwise, that just suggests to me that you're not ready. Like, because you're not ready to deal with the consequences or potential consequences of taking it. Anyway.
No, I agree with that because it's almost like it's an impulsive decision. You've thought about it, you like the idea of it, but you haven't really thought too much about it. Like, in terms of, you haven't done any research. You just seen results and you're like, I want to fucking do that. I want to do that.
The only exception to that, I would say, is if you're specifically working with an expert. Just like, if you're going to go out and train on your own, write your own program, do your own technique stuff, learn about it. If you're getting a coach, you don't have to learn about it.
What are your thoughts on this? So Conor McGregor, he's been out of the UFC for how long now? 2 years?
I'd say, 2 years.
2.5 years. So he withdrew himself from the USADA testing pool.
He'll do fucking nothing.
Yeah.
So he withdrew himself from the USADA testing pool. He's going to be fighting again later this year. And he's re-registering with the USADA testing pool.
Nice.
And have you seen what he looks like now?
Yeah. Is he jacked?
Yes.
Jacked out of his brain.
Yes.
So he competed in 2 weight classes, CJ, under 70 kilos, which is lightweight.
I don't know. So he started in featherweight.
Yeah,
and
which is under 65? 60?
I think so, yeah. Went to lightweight. He did a fight at welterweight, and he was quite puffy and whatnot. Yeah. And then he broke his leg. And in the UFC, if you're injured, you get withdrawn from the testing pool. So, because he'd snapped his leg.
But then he, not medically retired, but then he retired. And so he stayed out of the USADA testing pool. And right now he's 200 something pounds?
What?
So, yeah, bro. So he's like,
he's huge.
He's like 95 kilos.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So what weight will he fight at?
Well, he'll probably fight at
welterweight?
Maybe lightweight again.
Really? So
Yeah.
he's got a lot of cutting.
Like 70 something?
70, yeah. But he's huge and he's jacked and
nice.
he's jacked out of his brain. So what do you guys think about that? Like, from a moral standpoint, do you think it's fair that someone can... I think combat sports where essentially someone's life is on the line.
Yeah. For me, this is a really tough one because, like you said earlier, being tested just means passing the test. So it is what it is. But for me, morally, I can't really stand for that. This sports commentator, I think his name's Teddy Atlas, he's like, if you take steroids in baseball, you hit the ball further.
Yeah.
Or you're faster and you get to the base quicker. You steal bases faster. You run to field the ball faster. Or, in running, you run quicker and or run for longer or whatever. But in boxing and combat sports, you're hitting someone. And I think the person on the other end of those punches deserves to know if you're, enhanced. Like, because he's, like, you can die in the ring. Like, just last year, someone had, we had someone that died in the ring. A couple years before that, someone got knocked with a really solid shot and he now can't walk, So, like, this is very real. And so when it comes to combat sports, especially me as a huge fan of it, I have a very soft spot for it. So when it comes to using performance-enhancing drugs, especially in that sport where it is against the rules, right? Just like in powerlifting, there's both, I would be against powerlifters who do use drugs and compete and tested. Like that'd be against my personal morals. So in boxing and in UFC and MMA or any combat sport, it's very clear that you should not, it's against the rules. And if you are using it, then...
Yeah, like in our sport, there's far less consequences for it. It's like, he lifted more heavy circles than you. It's not that big a deal. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're like, from a moral standpoint, it does suck because we do offer the two options. You can either compete tested or non-tested.
Yeah.
So if you are taking steroids and you do want to compete in a tested federation, you're a fucking moron.
Absolutely.
And you should fucking... I don't know what you should do, but you shouldn't compete in powerlifting.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, you're ruining our sport.
Yeah.
And you're ruining it you're making it less enjoyable for those who do work really hard and who do decide to take the drug-free path. So, yeah.
So, Bridget, you're on your journey to the UFC. What's your opinion?
Morally, I think it's wrong. I agree with CJ. Yeah. Yeah.
James.
It's fucking... There's a part of me that wants to see fucking juiced up dudes get in the ring and fucking go for it. But at the same time, it is fucking... I think it's wrong. Yeah, you can't take yourself off the registry for 2 years.
Yeah.
Bulk up to fucking 95 kilos of fucking lean... Because you've seen him, CJ. He's jacked out of his...
He's got no neck anymore. He's wide. His shoulders are...
Tom, bro, he actually looks like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up after.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan came out saying that... what did he say? His piss would melt the USADA cup, the testing cup, the way it is. Like, but yeah, I would say, I know, like, I'm the same as you. Like, it would be cool to see, like, these juiced up fighters fight. But I think there should be, like, I think UFC and boxing should have that option.
Yeah. Well, Bellator, that's a promotion in America. They used to be really lenient with their testing, didn't they?
Yes, and before that, the Japanese promotion Pride was pretty much... They told you to take it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you had some monsters that were very, scary. But, yeah, I think, just like in, I guess, you could say in strongman or whatever, like, you're not there to see the strongest, natty person. You want to see, like, that's what's entertaining. See these huge monsters pick up these stones and whatnot. So...
Were you at Broderick's seminar when we held it years ago?
Yeah, with and he made fun of Brandon.
he kept saying that nobody wants to go see the biggest small guy.
Yeah, and congratulations, you're the strongest weak guy.
That's horrible.
Broderick can be horrible.
Yeah.
I think the really hard thing with international sport, and I don't know the layout of UFC, like if they all have to be under USADA or if it's just WADA, like people like Khabib. Where's he from?
Dagestan.
Where's Dagestan?
It's a republic in Russia.
Okay. So like, if he's under RUSADA or whatever, Dagestan SADA, whatever it is, can they even afford testing? So this is the problem that we have in powerlifting, right? There's Pacific Island nations that I've worked closely with in the IPF, and I know for a fact that they do not do testing there because they literally cannot afford it. Like, there's no government subsidies for it. There's no infrastructure for it. Like, this is similar to the vaccine. So they sent the vaccine to PNG in unrefrigerated containers. So the vaccine just died. So they sent millions of doses of the vaccine, and they didn't have the infrastructure to support the vaccine. And it's the same. They can send piss cups to the islands. They don't have the proper testing facilities and the proper, storage facilities and all that. And so I think of Lee Skinner. He's competed internationally for a career of 10, 15 years, and he's going up against guys from Nigeria, guys from countries that categorically don't have testing. And so, like, as an international competitor, you kind of think, well, I mean, it kind of levels the playing field by bending the rules. It's a weird way to look at it. And then, like, for morally, I'm like, my stance is that if you're competing in anything tested, you shouldn't take drugs. You should, that's what those rules are there for. But I get it. I get why people do it. And I can see how someone would end up down that moral pathway of finding justifications to go down that pathway.
I'm just going to, just adding to what you just said, Thomas, like another justification to that, like you said, in Nigeria or whatever country, they don't have these strict testing policies or they can't afford to get testing. In America, like they've got arguably the strictest doping policies in the world, like Las Vegas, the Nevada. The way they sanction, it's like the strictest in the world.
Yeah.
And
is it because the UFC is in Nevada? Do you think?
When the fights are in Nevada. So a lot of UFC fights are in Vegas.
Yeah.
And sometimes they are in New York and other fights around the world. There was the recent one was in Perth.
But apparently, that's why a lot of sporting events, besides like obviously combat sports, Nevada's like the home of combat sports. But apparently that's why there's not a lot of sporting events in Nevada.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, because of the strict testing policies and the way they sanction their events and things like that. So organizations like powerlifting things, they just can't afford to hold events in Nevada. Like, there's way more layers to this. I'm probably speaking way too, my knowledge of it's just very surface level.
I was going to say they hold powerlifting in Vegas a lot.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, but mostly untested.
Yeah, okay.
Like IPL has typically ran their tested worlds in Vegas.
Yeah.
But that's not USADA, that's under a different lab.
Yeah, true. But yeah, so I just think as well, like I think people like the USA, it's almost like they're doing the sport a good deed, but they're doing themselves a disservice by being so strict with their policies and letting. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I'm not trying to like encourage cheating, but
it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
it's like you want to make sure because the testing is to keep people accountable. So to make it harder for people to cheat, you got to make it harder for people to cheat, but it costs more. So then less people participate. So it's very, not everyone's got. If everyone in a perfect world where everyone's got great morals, you either just compete untested, or but when world's not like that, so people want to cheat and get around, and unfortunately, And
I mean, there's just the question of human morality. Full stop. Like we know for a fact that WADA as an organization has been, think of RUSADA, and what happened over there. These are organizations run by people. Where there's people with a lot of power, there's often some layer of corruption somewhere. And I'm not being a conspiracy theorist. Like I'm very much of the mindset of trust. I really like to believe that the system works. But there's bad people everywhere.
I mean, it was only a few episodes ago you were talking about the Chinese Ollie lifter that got done by some sleeper agent that went in to test him or something like that.
Actually, I want to ask you about that, Thomas, because lots of athletes, 20 Kenyans last year, got popped for EPO. So EPO, I've heard EPO come up a lot lately. That's what Lou Jiajin got popped for, EPO. It's what TJ Dillashaw got popped for.
Oh,
EPO.
okay.
What is EPO, Thomas? And I've never, ever heard of it being used in powerlifting.
No, because EPO it increases hematocrit. It increases your red blood cell count. So it makes your blood extremely thick, which it really, really, really helps with endurance.
So it's perfect for endurance athletes.
Yeah, that's what they use.
Okay.
Like that's when they talk about doping and cycling with Lance Armstrong, that's what they're talking about.
Can you have you got an assumption as to why someone like Lou Jiajin would be taking EPO?
Probably as a masking agent.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably to cover up something else. It might block like a metabolite of another drug. I really don't know. No idea. Like when you said it was for EPO, I was like, why?
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me, but they're smart people. There'd be a reason.
Maybe it's so he can, like you said, the band would be shorter because it's, I don't know.
I assume that's probably what's going on. Yeah. You know how lots of people get popped for pre-workout that are clearly on gear? That's the reason why. There were certain substances in pre-workout that would I think, I might be completely wrong on this, but this is just going off vague memory, would stand out over the metabolites of other things. So they'd get popped for pre-workout and not the fucking whatever they were blasting.
That's pretty cool.
It's very smart. Yeah,
I'm very interested in this as well.
Yeah.
I loved the whole doping and sport thing. And
well, that's the thing. Where, like you're saying, before people even consider taking it, they should know what they're taking, what they're putting in the body, what it does to them. Where do they learn? Because it's such an illegal, drug, and is it as simple as just Googling?
Yeah, no. That's where you're going to get led astray. Like I said, people like Broderick Chavez, and there's a few more experts that are coming up that are talking about it and do have real experience with it,
and are credible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing. It's just like something like psychedelics, where it was involved in something that becomes morally scandalous, and so it just gets shut down. So they can't actually research it, or they don't research it. They stop researching it for 20, 40, 50 years, and so it just becomes this relying on research from very outdated sources or anecdotal experience from current experts. It's hard.
We've been going for an hour now. Do we have time for any more topics?
No, I don't think we get into any topics. Any little tidbits at the end?
No.
This or that?
Ooh. Who's got an exercise?
This
Pizza or burger?
Pizza.
burger.
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 Oh. Ouch.
That's all right. More pizza for me.
Yeah, I love the whole circle. I'm the whole thing.
Donut or croissant?
Croissant.
Almond croissant.
Croissant.
Yeah, I'm going to go croissant.
Rice or potatoes?
Potatoes.
That's so hard.
You have so many different variations of potatoes.
Variety, baby.
Yeah.
I know, but I have rice with everything. But I love chips. I love mash.
Vodka.
Love roast potatoes. Yeah. Love vodka.
Rice wine?
I mean, I do. Yeah, I love rice wine.
Rice wine is horrible. Have you ever had rice wine?
No. I only know it exists because of Iron Chef. They put rice wine in all their cooking.
Yeah.
Hink is it?
That show's the best.
Yeah. I actually
bite out of the capsicum.
Yes.
But then he doesn't chew it, right? He just smiles.
No, with it like a piece in his mouth. You can tell.
Tom, bro, what's your favorite steak?
Oh. Has to be. Oh. I'd go anything from the ribeye. Yeah, rib fillet.
Okay. CJ?
New York strip.
Ooh.
Yeah, I really like it.
Bridget?
I don't know. I don't know that much about steak.
Neither.
A medium rare one? Yes.
Yeah, that's about us.
One more. Wait, Bridget's got a float one. CJ's got a float one.
Oh gosh.
Let me think.
If it's fruit, you're off the team.
No, it's not fruit.
You're off the team.
You're off the team. That was Mark Ballet. Remember that?
Yeah. He made the shirts with his stupid face on it. That was so good.
They were the best.
Oh, gosh.
This is really tough.
It's really not. Just think of two things. Literally be anything. Dogs or cats.
Oh, I thought we were talking about food.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
fruit.
we are. Dogs or cats.
Buddy. Close your ears. Close your eyes.
Oh no. Oh gosh.
He's like, nah, cats.
Beef or pork?
Beef.
Oh, sorry.
Beef.
All right, if you had to give up cheese or give up ice
Wait,
cream?
you didn't ask. It's a CJ.
Beef.
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 Yeah.
Cheese or ice cream?
Beef.
I like beef. I smell like beef.
Cheese or ice cream? What the fuck kind of option is that?
You have to give up one. They're both dairy.
What do you want for dessert? Do you want ice cream or you want cheese?
The French
but
have
people
cheese.
do. They
yeah,
do this.
you have cheese.
It's
after
the worst when you go to a fancy restaurant
it's
and they
not.
have a
It's the
cheese cart
best.
and you walk in and it just stinks of moldy cheese.
It's the best.
Giving up cheese, 100%.
You know, Bridget one time gave me some fucking fancy cheese that was, I don't know, you said it was really expensive.
It was camembert. It was a French camembert. It was really good.
And
it tastes like feet and socks.
bro,
Yeah.
it smelled like
and
fucking,
ammonia.
it smelled like zone smelling salts.
Smelling salts.
And I had like 2 pieces of it and it smelled like ammonia real strong. And then
good.
after I had 2 pieces, it literally felt like someone was just holding a zone smelling salt to my nose.
Is this off? Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
And I couldn't
No.
I was kind of panicking, I was like, I can't breathe. It feels like I can't breathe. I was just sitting on the couch like, fuck, when's this going to go away? Yeah, so we'll fuck cheese off.
Yeah. It's like caviar.
Yeah.
I've had caviar once in my life. And I was like, people don't like this. They get it because they're like, I'm rich, I'm having caviar.
yeah, it's a status
Like,
thing.
you don't
Yeah.
like it. Shut up.
What's the thing?
I like stinky cheese.
Yeah, but
It's great.
when you get to a certain age, when your palate is so
I've been eating it since I was 20. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so what was that, 40 years
30
ago?
That's so mean. Oh god.
You've got a very refined palate, though. You like fancy things.
Yes,
We like
yeah.
snack packs.
Yeah. Bridget was saying at a restaurant in France, they brought out cheese and there was maggots on it
There's
still.
a maggot on it. It wasn't at a restaurant. It was
Oh.
just at someone's house. You just pick it out and you eat it.
Pick it out. Oh my god.
That's nasty, eh?
Ah,
Hectic.
different laws when it comes to fermentation. over there.
Wait, hang on.
That's not fermentation. That's like toxic.
Filipinos eat duck embryos and century eggs.
Yeah, they fire. They do.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. And
I'm
they-
gonna-
we're not picking maggots. We're not picking maggots
Yeah.
out of it. And it doesn't
Oi,
smell.
all right, next week I'm going to go to the Filipino shop before the podcast. We're going to eat balut live on the podcast.
And I'm going to bring some
No,
cheese in.
we're not.
You can't do it. It would be-
All right.
Would you eat it, Tom, bro? You'd actually like it. Do you like hard-boiled egg?
Yeah.
Just tastes like that, but kind of alive.
Definitely doesn't. You're gonna make me crunch on the little head with the little beak.
No, don't get a very mature one. Oh my god.
Should I actually? I'll go get
No,
them.
I'm not eating.
You won't do it.
What do
Come
they
on,
smell
bro.
like? I bet they stink. Though.
Where do you draw the line? You have these big fancy steaks. That's an animal.
No, don't play this game.
Have you seen that meme? It's like, where do you draw the line? So I was like, right about
Right
here,
here.
mate.
Exactly.
Scribbles it through. Oh my god.
All right.
Bye.
That's us.
See you.
Thank you so much for listening to the ZeroW Podcast. If you want more information, head to our Instagram, ZeroW_weakness. Hit the link in the bio for all of our services and any information on upcoming workshops and events. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review so we can have a broader reach and answer more people's questions. Thank you once more.